I feel like we have seen this story before, haven't we? I feel like that minute and a half kind of sums up exactly how all Manchester United fans are feeling at the moment. Clinton, it's hard to know where to start, really. 4 points from their opening 4 games. Mentioned it a minute ago, their worst start to a Premier League season in 33 years. What was your reaction to watching yesterday?
No, it's difficult, but first and foremost, I'm not going to Fort Park. Definitely not going to
whatever theme park that is, we're not going to it.
I'm not going to it, definitely not. No, but it was disappointing, and you see like the likes of Roy Keane and Gary Neville who know the club inside out. It's disappointing, and I always say as a manager, when you're under pressure, and he's been under pressure from last season, he's under pressure this season as well. I don't think they have a plan B. His plan A is not working. So if your plan A is not working, why don't you go to a plan B? Everyone can see that those players are not good enough to play his system. His system is not working, and he looks like a manager who sticks to his guns, and I can get that. But at the end of the day, if you keep sticking to your guns, you're going to lose your job.
Is that how you feel? Is this now stubbornness with him wanting to stick to this system going to end up with him losing his job?
100%, because he can hear everyone in the media talking about the players don't look like they can suit to this formation, and the formation doesn't look like it suits players. If you look at Bruno Fernandes is not better in a 2, he's better in a 3, or he's better in one of those number 10 positions, but he's Man United's best player, so you're not getting the best out of your players at the moment. And you're looking at it, so Jim Ratcliffe there, who makes all the big decisions. There'll be question marks over Ruben Amorim. I do think they'll stick with him, but results like this are not good enough, and it feels like I talk about Man United Football Club. As Roy Keane just said there, they look like an average Premier League team. And who would have said that about Man United in decades gone by? No one would have said that, because they were, if not, they were the best team around. When I was playing, they were the best team around. You knew you were going to Old Trafford and you weren't getting no points there because the team was so good in the way they were set up. So it was always difficult. Now I think every team that goes to Old Trafford or plays against Man United will think they can get a result. It's nowhere near good enough. But at the end of the day, the players have to take responsibility, but the buck stops with the manager. And if you don't make a change, you're going to lose your job.
We'll talk more about the system in just a moment. You said their results haven't been good enough. Can you see them changing? Because when you look at their next fixtures now, Chelsea, Brentford, Sunderland, all before the next international break, I mean, just how important are these next 3 games?
They're big for Ruben Amorim, because that's when usually the chairmans like to make changes in that international break. And there'll be talks where people will be sounding out other managers to see what's going to happen. But first and foremost, all he's got to do is just turn it around, because those 3 games are massive for Man United Football Club and massive for Ruben Amorim. I actually did their first game of the season against Arsenal, and I thought, this is a different Man United team.
That sort of has it gone downhill from there?
Yeah, it's gone downhill since then, because and you know what it is with Man United, and I've said it many a times, when they play the big teams like the Arsenals, they turn up. And Bruno Fernandes even said it last season. Now, when you play the teams that you expected to win,
yesterday.
No, exactly, but didn't turn up in that game. They didn't turn up, and you expect that. It's a Manchester derby. Surely you got to feel it and show a bit of pride for the fans that have turned up. I'm not saying any player goes out there and tries not to try their hardest, but it's been nowhere near good enough. It's a Manchester derby, and they did not turn up. Like some of the defending and the way they go about their business, nowhere near good enough. But as I said, the pressure is on the manager, Ruben Amorim. He has to deliver. I do not think, Emma, the formation suits the players.
Well, talking of that, a lot has been said, hasn't it, about Amorim's system and his stubbornness of playing this 3-4-2-1 system. After the game yesterday, he said that if United want to change the system, they'll need to change the manager. Listen to this.
There are a lot of things that you have no idea what happened during these months, but I accept that. But I'm not going to change. When I want to change my philosophy, I will change. If not, you have to change the man. So, and we'll talk about that every game that we lose. I don't believe in that, in the system or whatever. I play my way, and I'm going to play my way until I want to change.
Theme, isn't it, about whether the system is able to work with this Manchester United squad. But it's the consequences of the system that I want to talk about this evening. The players involved in the most 1v1 situations in the Premier League over the last 2 seasons have been Mo Salah and Bukayo Saka. So Liverpool and Arsenal want their best players in prime position on the pitch. But what about Manchester United this season? Well, it seems Patrick Dorgu is the one finding himself time and again in threatening situations. He's been involved in the most one-against-one situations of any Manchester United player this season. That's ahead of Bryan Mbeumo. Significantly, look at third on the list as well, Diogo Dalot. Is he the type of player that United fans want facing up the opposition defence? This is a consequence of the system. And this is also reflected In the touches in the opposition box, Patrick Dorgu had the most of any Manchester United player this season against rivals Manchester City. Bryan Mbeumo and Joshua Zirkzee are also high on the list. So what does this mean for Manchester United's historically most creative player? He started this season as a pure central midfielder with the 2 10s in front of him, tasked with the chance creation and the goal contributions. It's 1 goal, 0 assists so far for Fernandes. But his picture is slightly more complex than those numbers might suggest. Small sample size, but he is creating more chances than last season at the moment. However, from that deeper position, his touches in the opposition box are on the decline, as you can see there, as are the number of shots that he is taking. He's winning possession marginally more than he did last season. Will that number rise this season, because he is playing in a deeper position and his responsibilities are slightly different in the deeper role than they would be as a number 10. It's all a complex situation for Manchester United. With one hand, you give with your attacking players, Mbeumo, Cunha, Mount. I know both of those are injured, but the other hand, you take away with Bruno Fernandes' creativity. What do Manchester United do here, Clinton?
Well, if you want to get the best out of Bruno Fernandes, I think you need to change the shape and go 4-3-3. And Bruno Fernandes plays in that number 10 role where he creates stuff. I know if you play that 3-4-3 where he wants to play, Bruno can play in one of those 10 positions. But I just think when you brought in Cunha and Mbeumo, you paid a lot of money. They're going to play in that, and Šeško's going to play through the middle. I think you change your formation and go put him in that number 10. He creates stuff. He's a brilliant. Bruno Fernandes don't want to be running back towards his own goal. He wants to be running forward. I think you get 2 holding midfielders that can sit there and get the best out of your best player in the team. And Ruben Amorim is not doing that. He says in the press there, doesn't want to change. But if you're not going to want to change, Dave, then you're not going to stay in your job. And that's as plain and simple as that, because you're at Man United Football Club, one of the biggest football clubs in the world, and the results have been nowhere near good enough.
OK, so if he did change, so let's say he changed to a 4-3-3, what would your team look like?
Are we going to show my team?
We're going to show it.
I did my prep earlier.
I think we're going to show it.
I'm looking forward to this.
You talk me through this.
I will talk you through it. Yeah, my team's not bad, to be fair.
OK.
I'd have the Lamas, the new goalie, because you're only as good as your goalkeeper. The last line of defence, and I feel if you've got a goalkeeper who's making a lot of mistakes, puts pressure. The right back could have been Mazraoui or Dalot, but I went for Dalot because he can attack going for De Ligt and Euro. If Martinez is fit, Martinez comes in there. But this is the players that are fit at the moment. Luke Shaw, left back. And then I'd play Mainu, Casemiro, Fernandes, and Mbeumo, Šeško, and Cunha. That's when I think everyone's fit. And listen, Mason Mount, it's hard for him because I feel like he has started the season reasonably well for Man United, but he's had a lot of injuries.
Another injury again.
Another injuries, and that's what he is. But that's how I would. And why not try it? Just why not? I know he doesn't want. I know he wants to stick to his philosophy and stuff, but why does he just not try that formation? Just try it and play the young boy Kobbie Mainoo. You do not become a bad player overnight, Emma. He was sensational a couple of years ago. Now all of a sudden his confidence looks low, and he doesn't look like the player that we used to see 2 years ago.
Oh, I want to come back to Kobbie Mainoo in just a moment. But if Ruben Amorim did stick to having a 3 at the back, how would this team look?
So you've got
your other team, so let's roll that.
Let's roll that. And yeah, this is how I would do it. As I say, at the moment with everyone fit, because this is who's fit. I'd play Ahmed on the right, and I'd play Mainoo and Bruno in there still, and play the front 3, because you've spent over 200 million on that front 3, so you have to give them an opportunity. I know Šeško hasn't hit the ground running, but you're not. In my eyes, you don't become a bad player overnight. And Mbeumo, Cunha are not bad players. I feel like every player that is going to Man United at the moment is not becoming a good player.
I think Cunha's shown that he's still very much a good player.
Cunha's a very good player. He just needs the goal. Once he gets that goal, and now he's injured again, and that's what Man United don't need. What Ruben Amorim, when you're under pressure, you need your best players available. They have not had their best players available all of the time, but they need them back, and it needs to change. You need to change. You know who plays that formation the best? Crystal Palace. Do you know why they play it the best? Because they work on it, and Oliver Glasner has got the players to play it. They've got a brilliant back 3. They've got Muñoz and Mitchell who wants to get forward. 2 midfielders, whoever plays in that, whether it's Wharton Hughes or Jefferson Lerma. And the front 3, it was Eze, Sarr and Mateta. But it's not now. It's like going to be Pina, and it could be Sarr, and it could be Mateta.
But
they
then
play
are we still arguing then, Ruben doesn't have the right players then for his system?
Well, you could say you don't have the right players for that system, and that is why you change. Glasner does it, and it works with that. So whatever Glasner's doing, and I shouldn't even big Glasner up, because if he does lose his job, Man United could come knocking on the door. So let's move on from that.
Right, we're moving on to, before we throw it back to Dave over at the big screen, I want to ask you about Kobbie Mainoo, because you mentioned it a minute ago. who doesn't seem to be fitting into any system that they're playing at the moment. What is going on? Why is he getting overlooked?
I'd love to know what he's doing. I don't know how he's training, because I know Ruben Amorim is big on training, but he doesn't strike me as the type of person who doesn't put the effort into training. I think he's a good young player. I don't know what's happening. We need to help these young players. I don't think you can just say move the young players to the side and not give them the opportunity. As I said, you do not become a bad player overnight. He's never been a bad player. He's actually done all right when he came on. He tried to get on the ball. He tried to make things happen. Not everything's going to come off for him, but what you have to realise, he's a young kid, and he's still going to be improving and still learning. And he's still at one of the biggest clubs. Everyone would love to. I don't buy this that players wouldn't want to go to Man United. You still would want to go to Man United. I know the predicament they're in at the moment, but it's still a huge football club. But they just need to start getting results.
Right. Let's head back to Dave then for a little bit more on Ruben Amorim's future and whether patience is what's needed. Is it, Dave?
Well, I think I was talking to quite a few Arsenal fans in the office today, and there has been very recent precedent for a Premier League club being patient with their manager and going on to achieve results. Mikel Arteta had a tough start to life at Arsenal, but now the club are regularly associated with the Premier League title charge. So let's take a look at how the Premier League table looked on Christmas Day 2020. Remember, this is a year after Arteta was appointed. They were still struggling. They had just 4 wins from their opening 14 games, found themselves 15th in the table with 13 points there. And they also had a goal difference of -5. But let's take a look at how things have changed under the Arsenal manager. This is Arsenal's Premier League positions since Arteta took charge. Now, the previous graphic where we were talking about Christmas Day is just around about here on your screen. Now, my eye is immediately drawn down to there. I'm going to get to that. 15th in the table at the end of 2020. Things got a little bit better at the start of the following season at 2021. But then we come down to here, where Arsenal slumped to the bottom of the table. They lost their opening 3 games of that following season. At various points, it seemed like Arsenal could have easily pushed the button on Mikel Arteta. But the patience has paid off at the moment. It's been a steady climb since then. Arsenal's patience has been rewarded. Yes, I know trophies have been an issue, but they have been in title run-ins against some of the other sides in the Premier League as well. Arsenal's patience somewhat rewarded. Will Manchester United's? Clinton, I guess that's the most recent example of Premier League patience. But if you go further back, it involves Manchester United as a prime example with Sir Alex Ferguson, who United showed him a great patience at the start of his reign. Can that type of thing ever happen again, where that type of patience is shown, or is the immediacy too much now?
Yeah, I think the immediacy is too much now. I do think you're right, you're spot on. And you've definitely done your homework, because Alex Ferguson, when he first went there, he was under big pressure. And then at one game, it just clicked. And now he's probably one of the best managers we've ever seen gracing the Premier League. And he's been fantastic. And it is like that. But the thing is, in this day and age now, Dave, you don't get that much time. You spend a lot of money. They've spent over 200 million on strikers. And probably the position they needed to go and strengthen was a centre midfielder. If you want to play that formation, that is where you need a centre midfielder that can cover the ground and dictate the football, and that's what they don't have at the moment. And you've seen it but he'll be under pressure this year, Mikel Arteta. So you can talk about Arsenal's league position, because the money that he spent this summer, he'll have to get them a trophy, and he knows that. You hear him talking in his press conference. First and foremost, Man United don't need to worry about winning trophies. They need to worry about finishing in the top half of the table at the moment and trying to get results, as I said earlier. So pressure will mount on him and Ruben Amorim, definitely. But I do think they should have bought a centre midfielder in the summer.
Yeah, it feels like it's, they need to worry about just winning matches at the moment.
That's exactly
don't they?
that, yeah.
Do you think there has been progression under Ruben Amorim? Because I was listening to Wayne Rooney just yesterday. He was saying, he thinks Manchester United have got worse in the time since he's come in.
Yeah. He's right. Wayne Rooney's right. One of the best to ever play for Man United. He's spot on. You're not going to argue with what he said. They haven't got better. You can look at his results. If any other manager had got the results he had at Man United, he would have been sacked. I think they've just bought him a bit of time and thinking it will change. Last season, it was nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough. They had a great opportunity. And you can look at that, the permanent manager, lowest win rates since the Second World War. Look at it, it's nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough. He's at Man United Football Club. I think people forget the club that he's at and the size of the club. And I don't care what anyone says, oh yeah, you can't keep going back on history. Well, we'll go back on history because it's a huge football club. But the results he's getting at the moment, nowhere near good enough. And I thought they could finish in the top half. I'm starting to worry if they'll finish where they finished last season. And it'll be even more difficult. Last season, there was 3 bad teams in the Premier League that got relegated. That's why they weren't in a relegation battle. There's better teams this year, so they need to start bucking their ideas up and picking up results, because it ain't good enough.
Yeah, it's like, are there any signs to show that they're better than last season? How does it end then with Ruben Amorim?
I think these 3 games are massive before the next international break, as we alluded to, and they're not easy teams that they're playing. There's no easy games in the Premier League at all. So these are massive games, and I think if he doesn't get the results in these 3 games, I think come international, the more people like me and everyone else in the media are going to talk about him. But we have to scrutinise Man United, because we know the size of the football club and we know it should be doing better. And everyone said, oh yeah, last season he wasn't good enough. Would he still be in a job? He's had his pre-season. He's had players that he's wanted and brought to the football club, and the results are still the same. So as I say, at the end of the day, players can come out and defend their manager. By all means, you can do that. The buck stops with the manager. Get results, and we'll start talking about it. We'll start talking positive. At the moment, there's no positives to talk about with Man United.
It's very hard to find some, isn't it? Right,
Ruben Amorim could be handed a way out of his troubled Manchester United reign after Benfica presidential candidate João Noronha Lopes was spotted at the Etihad during Sunday's derby defeat. The leading contender has openly spoken about bringing Amorim back to Lisbon if elected, raising fresh questions about the Portuguese coach's long-term future at Old Trafford. Manchester United slumped to a 3-0 defeat against rivals Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium, piling further pressure on Amorim. Watching from the stands was Lopes, who is currently ahead in the Benfica presidential polls. He was pictured alongside Vice President candidate Nuno Gomes, a close friend of Amorim, and General Director Pedro Ferreira. Lopes has made no secret of his ambition to bring Amorim to Benfica, where he spent 9 years as a player. Current coach Bruno Lage is expected to leave at the end of the season, if not sooner, opening a clear pathway. With United enduring their worst start to a campaign in 33 years, speculation about Amorim's future continues to intensify. Speaking through his vice president candidate Nuno Gomes, Lopes' stance was made clear. Gomes told Portuguese media Ruben Amorim is the coach of Manchester United. I can't answer that question. One thing I know, Ruben Amorim will be the coach of Benfica one day. João has already shown in recent years that he is capable of changing Benfica to make it greater and different from what it has been in recent years. United sources insist Amorim still has the club's backing despite growing unrest. However, the Portuguese coach's insistence on sticking with his 3-4-2-1 system has left doubts over his flexibility. The next few weeks could prove decisive, with Benfica watching developments closely as their own presidential elections loom.